I don't always agree with AOC, but I will always have a tremendous amount of respect for her. And Habba is attacking her for being a bartender. This isn't the first MAGA Republican to do this, and Donald Trump hires people like that because that's the way Donald Trump thinks. That's the way the elitists on the far right think. So Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and Stephen Horsford held a rally yesterday in Las Vegas. And they're making a tour, at least Sanders and AOC are, how to deal with this oligarchy, as they would call it, and I would too. And I personally think it's a good idea. I do have a few criticisms as well, but I thought it was one of AOC's best speeches she's ever done yesterday. It really hit home a lot of the stuff that she talked about yesterday. I want to play you a few clips, and we'll talk about that. So here's the part of the speech where she talked about being a waitress and why it's so important to her and to all Americans, I would think, that aren't right-wing idiots and billionaires, and why healthcare, labor, and human rights don't make her a Marxist. Have a listen to this.
You know, Fox News and the right wing will have you believe that these American values are something out of the Communist Manifesto. That we believe these things because we went to college and read them in a book somewhere. But let me tell you, Fox News, I don't believe these things. I don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because I'm a Marxist. I believe it because I was a waitress. Because I scrubbed toilets with my mom to go to school. Because I worked double shifts to keep the lights on. And because on my worst day, I know what it feels like to feel left behind. And I know that we don't have to live like this anymore, Las Vegas. We deserve better than this, Las Vegas.
All right, so obviously I agree with that, and she's resonating with a lot of people. What I didn't hear there was what she's going to do about it. That would be my criticism. I agree with that message. I think it's great. So what are you going to do about it the next 3.5 years, AOC? That would be my question to her, but I totally agree with what she's saying. Now, I spoke about this the other day. Alina Habba is a despicable human being. Donald Trump's, I guess, still attorney, works in his administration, even though nobody can tell everybody what she actually does and what her job is there. But I mentioned the other day she went on Fox News, and it was so despicable with Sean Hannity. They're such despicable people. And she started attacking AOC at one time for being a bartender, as if working in the service industry to pay your way through school is a bad thing. I think it's a positive thing. But that's who these people are. They're scumbags. And I want to play you this thing because I think it's really important. It goes to show you where the MAGA Republicans are at, attacking people in this country for having honest jobs for a living. And I thought it was a real high point in her speech yesterday. Listen to this.
For all the big talk that Republicans and the Trump administration like to flap about working people, if you actually listen carefully, every once in a while they let the mask slip about what they actually think about us. You know, just last week, President Trump's lawyer, her name is Alina Habba, she went on television, and when she actually had to be faced with explaining her job, and when she actually had to be faced with doing her job, this is what she had to say. Quote, what intellectual thought? And she was asked about me. Quote, what intellectual thought? You were in a bar. You were in a bar, AOC, and not to have a drink, but to serve one. And I want you all to understand, and I don't care what the song says about me, but I want you to understand that she isn't just talking about me here. She's talking about you. She's talking about all of us. Because the entire job of the president's lawyer is to speak for him. Trump hired her to speak for him. So imagine what it means for our country that the president's own lawyer cannot even conceive of a working class person being intelligent simply because of the job that they have.
There you go. I love that message. She's so right. And I've talked about that on this show over and over again. Why is it that MAGA Republicans attack people for having an honest job? AOC worked as a bartender to pay her way through school at Boston College, got her degree, made something of herself. I don't always agree with AOC, but I will always have a tremendous amount of respect for her. And Habba is attacking her for being a bartender. This isn't the first MAGA Republican to do this, and Donald Trump hires people like that because that's the way Donald Trump thinks. That's the way the elitists on the far right think. Now, I do have some criticisms of the rallies. I think the messaging is very good. I like what they're doing. You have to talk about policy. You have to talk about what you're going to do to combat Donald Trump. You have to talk about the future. You need to get specific. That's part of the reason why Kamala Harris lost. She did have some policies out there that I agreed with, but you need to get more specific with the American people. Half the job you're doing is great in that speech. You're talking about, the fact that you were a bartender and what MAGA Republicans are saying about you, the threat of Donald Trump, the oligarchy, Bernie Sanders doing the same thing. I think that's great. My only criticism is you need to be more specific and tell people what the plan is. That's my issue moving forward. I think it's great that they're going on this tour, but, we needed more of that, 3 or 4 months ago. But, okay, I'm glad you're doing it now. Be more specific with the American people. But I like the fact that she's humanizing herself. Bernie Sanders did a good job as well, but I need them both to be a little bit more specific. That's just my personal opinion.